Welcome to Press Pass Live. It is your annual, weekly, whatever you want to call it, podcast show for the OMFL, and we are glad to be here. A special edition, 10 o'clock at night. We're still rolling like we're a bunch of young folk, but let me welcome in my guests with me, my two co-hosts that I have. I am your host, Nate, the commissioner here. Let me bring in Mr. Ozone. Ozone, welcome to the show, my friend.
Nate, what is up? What is up, OMFL? Let's do this. Little late nighter.
It's another beautiful day in paradise, and some way, somehow, I don't know how Ozone got this worked out. I don't know if he called the agent. I don't know if he had to pay somebody, but some way, somehow, we got Brady back. Brady, welcome back to the show.
Well, what's happening? How's everybody doing tonight?
Brady.
Hopefully, I missed it. But, hey, coaching these fifth grade Lady Indians, hopefully we can do some big things this season. But, yeah, it's fun to be back, though.
That's awesome, man. Those are just great memories that you'll have with your little girl when it's all said and done. This is a very special edition of Press Pass Live because here in less than 23 hours, probably less than that because there's only 2 games left, we will be in the playoffs here in the OMFL for season 69. I cannot believe that we will be starting season 70 next season, and in probably less than 2 weeks we'll be into season 70. And it has been a whirlwind of a season, a lot of ups and downs, but the cream has risen to the top, and now we get to talk playoffs. So let's jump right into it. We're going to start with the AFC playoff race. We're going to talk about who is in and who's out. Now, I know there's a little bit of fuzziness about what Madden could and couldn't do here. But before we get started, let's cover who we think is going to be there right now. First, number 1 seed is going to be the Buffalo Bills. Your number 2 seed is going to be the Tennessee Titans. The number 3 seed is going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers, which we have to figure this out. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit. What are we going to do? A new owner's taking over that team. Do we let them play? Do we not? We normally don't let them play, but we can shelf that. We'll put that in the parking lot for just a little bit. Kansas City Chiefs coming in at number 4. Great season for them. They've really turned it on here late. The Patriots.
Let me jump in there real quick, Nate. I think KC's going to have the 3 seed.
So they're actually going to take the 3 seed over the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, just looking at the numbers, they have more wins.
The record.
Yeah.
Well, KC's probably going to jump up to 3, Pittsburgh 4. I don't know why Dad League has that messed up. Look, I'm a simple dude. It's got to be spelled out for me. I don't have the brain power to figure all that stuff out. The New England Patriots are coming in at number 5. That's where this fuzziness starts.
This is where the fuzziness starts.
Yeah, the Broncos at number 6, and then Brady, what happened? The Jaguars are right now on the outside looking in, but like I said, here's where the fuzziness kicks in because we're not quite sure what Madden's going to do with the Pats, the Broncos, and the Jaguars.
Yeah, me personally, I if it's me on paper, I have to go. We're going to be on the outside looking in, and the reason why I say that is real simple. We had a good chance to, handle this ourselves during the season. We lost 30-33 to the Broncos, and we lost 19-21 to the Patriots. So
that's some tough game.
Yeah, so head-to-head wise, I honestly feel we will be on the outside looking in this playoff season. The biggest thing was, we ran into a lot of good owners, good players. Heck, this could have went a different direction if and when, my question mark game has to be the Seahawks game. We get to overtime.
I needed you to win that, by the way.
I'm letting you know now. The game desyncs on a 3rd and 6 at the 17-yard line. His back is against the end zone. And there's no telling what would have happened on the next ensuing play, but it desynced. He went on to get the game-winning field goal. But yeah, that right there is my question mark game because we didn't get to finish it out in its entirety. So I think we're on the outside looking in. getting ready for the draft.
Here's the part that really confuses me is I know that you lost both those games head-to-head. Now, Huday's been doing his homework today trying to get an answer about what Madden does. I remember way back in the day when Madden actually went alphabetical order on you. That is how it decided who made the playoffs if there was a tied record. Stupidest thing in the whole wide world. But you actually have a better division record and a better conference record than both of those teams. Actually, a better division record by a long shot. Both of those guys are 3-3. You're 5-1. So that's why I just kind of scratch my head. I think it's a little bit of a downer. But like you said, you had your plenty of opportunities there to not even put this in Madden's hands. I think we'll all be waiting to see what happens on the advance. But as of right now, you will be on the outside looking in. Ozone, what are you kind of thinking about this whole AFC issue that we're having here?
I think Sir Brady is in. I really do. I don't think Madden recognizes the head-to-head records, and I think it's going to go division and then it's going to go conference. And you have conference-wise, I believe you got both New England and Denver, if I'm not mistaken, by one game. So I think you're going to be the number 5 seed. I think the big question is going to be who's going to be the number 6 between New England and Denver.
Why can't we get this right? Like, I mean, they create. I know I'm not a programmer. I know just enough code to get myself in trouble. But is it that difficult to get this kind of very important thing right?
No, it's not hard to get it right. We have to understand we're in an era now where license is king, and in licensing, NFL dictates how much EA can mess with their baby in a way, and it goes back to old gen college football. I'm not sure if you remember on the PlayStation 2, Xbox, and the original Xbox, how in college football for the EA games, you were actually able to do infractions. Like, you were able to suspend key players because they missed the test in the game. It even had a feature in there to where you could, instead of doing bowl games, you could do playoff games. Yep. But once the licensing's got, once they placed the license tag on there, they were like, oh, no, you can't put that in the game. We don't want that in the game. So this is one of them things where they want it to be true to life to a certain extent, but they don't want it to be full on, like you can do just about everything in the game and all the errors and you name it and stuff like that. But it's something simple, head to head. I mean, it's not like you're trying to, suspend someone for hitting their wife or anything like that in the game, but it's just one of those things where it just seems like the NFL licensing gets in the way of that.
Well, let's talk about the AFC now that we've kind of got the confusion figured out a little bit. We'll include the Jaguars in there. So we'll kind of talk about a couple of different scenarios. Ozone, how do you see the AFC playoff picture working out? Why don't you work me through who you think is going to make it all the way to the championship game? Then we'll talk about the NFC, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about who we think is going to be in the game and picking who we think is going to take this whole thing.
AFC simple to me. I mean, come on. Let's spend about 2 minutes and say Ducks is going to go all the way and call it good at that point. I mean, this is, you look at the numbers, you break down the numbers, and it's not even close. Again, the NFC is a little closer, but the AFC, you look at the numbers and it's ridiculous. I've been writing down some stuff, and it's just nobody really comes close here. You look at the Bills; they got the 10th best offense, 2nd best defense in the league. Not in the NFC, AFC in the league. They're number 1 in turnovers. Differential ratio with plus 35, which is not, they basically blew the entire league out of the water. The second closest is with 20, plus 20, and they're plus 35. We're talking a 15 plus differential change on the turnover. That's ridiculous. They're 3rd in red zone accuracy with 90%. And then you look at the other teams that are in there. You look at Tennessee, you look KC, you look Pittsburgh. I kind of have Pittsburgh thrown out because we know nothing about the owner. No offense to the team, but it's changed a couple owners. So you can't, to me, I have them as a number 6 seed as far as the power rankings go. And then you look at the teams we're talking about. It's very hard to put my ticket behind of any of these teams that we've talked. No offense to Brady, man. I know your Jags. You're doing a lot with that roster. Making the playoffs is huge with the team you got. But when you compare the numbers against the Bills, it's tough. I don't think there's a lot of teams that can compete.
Brady, what are you thinking about the AFC? Who do you think is going to make it all the way? What do you think about these matchups? How do you see the AFC cracking out?
Me personally, I think Bills is definitely the team to beat. But just looking at some of the games of some of the possibilities of like some of the opponents that he could face, he only won. He actually lost versus the Broncos by 1. He actually looks like the Broncos and the Patriots. It seems like he has some connection issues with those two players. I think he had to restart the game 3 times versus the Broncos, ended up losing. Had to restart the game 7 times versus the Patriots, only to win by just 6. And that, if I'm looking at it correctly, I think that even had to go into overtime. So it's one of those things where, yes, Bills on paper are definitely ahead of the pack, but those are two teams. If in the playoffs, if he can face either one of those bad boys, they got a chance. They got a chance, but Titans, I don't know if the Titans could even remotely compete versus them. Nothing against Clyde. I mean, me and him went back and forth this season, and he ended up getting, I've ended up, beating him for that, head-to-head, but I choked in the end. But, he's a good player. I think he would be able to, on paper, if he doesn't make mistakes, he have a chance to win. But, again, I think the Bills will be representing the AFC again this season, barring someone decides to put a second loss on that record. So,
what do you guys think about, Nate, what do you think about KC?
Casey's been one of those teams.
Because I'm eyeballing this team, and I'm looking at some numbers, and I know they've gotten hot here the last couple advances. What's your take?
Casey's one of those teams that it's kind of made me scratch my head all season long to just watch them a little up and down. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster ride, and they're a tough team for me to really put my finger on. I don't know that we 100% know what this team is all about. It is good to see the Kansas City Chiefs turn things around, though, and make a run here. A pretty well-rounded upper echelon offense, 5th in the league in points, 12th in passing, 6th in rushing. He's averaging over 110 yards per game, which is something to be really proud of. I mean, that is a feat in this Madden. And then on defense, not anything to super brag about as far as passing and yards, but his points are 9th and his rushing yards are 8th. So he's very solid right up front. Jamal Charles is rushing the ball really well, 11 touchdowns, 6.6 average, 1,100 total yards. Tyrod Taylor has come over from the Buffalo Bills and really has been the catalyst to push that offense. 3,650 yards, 32 touchdowns for a really, really great year for him. He's got 2 receivers over 1,000 yards. One of them's a tight end at 73 catches, which is 21 more catches than the next closest receiver. So that's a little bit of an issue. And that, I think, is why, because we've had to talk to him about this. Not that we think he's a terrible or cheesy player. Like, people think that too, that if we talk to an owner about a game issue, it automatically means that he's not cheesy. He just needs to clean that one little thing up. And I think that that's going to play a little bit of a head game as he kind of goes into the playoffs. I think the problem for Kansas City is going to be the defenses that he faces. The Tennessee Titans the Pittsburgh Steelers, if we allow that guy to play, and again, we need to talk about that. The Buffalo Bills, and even the New England Patriots, these are all teams that stop the run very well. And so averaging 110 points per game in the season, trying to make that correlate to the playoffs is going to be a tough one. I would also say that I'm a big believer in that a person's strength is usually their greatest weakness. And when we talk about the AFC, I agree with both of you. On paper, this is all about the Buffalo Bills. They are absolutely dominating almost everyone that they step on the field with. The problem is that as much as I love Ducks, and I love him, he's on my board, fighting him back this Madden, even though he had to leave last Madden. He is like passionate in life in general, and everything he does is 1,000%, and he's like fully a believer in everything that he says. Just look and see, he'll complain about how Buchanan's stats are wrong, and like that's just Duck. That's who he is, okay? And I think that could also become his greatest weakness in the playoffs because he's very stubborn. He's going to stick to his game plan, and Ducks can beat himself. I don't know that anybody else can. The teams that I think have an opportunity would be the Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars. I think both of those teams have an opportunity, with possibly the Denver Broncos. I don't think any of the other teams can really hang with him, and I just don't think Tennessee has enough firepower, and we're not even sure Jacksonville can make it into the playoffs. And another thing about Jacksonville, Brady loves his run, all right? He loves to run the ball, and Buffalo stops the run. And Brady has not figured out that quarterback situation just yet this season. So I do think it's all going to be about the Buffalo Bills. But if Ducks gets into a tight game where where he almost allows a team to stick around longer than they should, you know what I'm saying? Plays a little bit down to his competition.
Right.
Tennessee Titans and the Jacksonville Jaguars, those are two teams. Even the Denver Broncos, even though they haven't had the season that they had last year, those two teams, though, definitely can make him pay for that if he gets himself into a tight game. But what are you going to say? I mean, this dude is winning with Huntley as his quarterback, and the dude's having a Pro Bowl season. He's got the fastest linebackers, probably the fastest defense in the league. He's a great user. He takes away the middle of the field, which really limits your options of what you can do. And if that dude plays a cover 2 zone on you, you can shut it out. You're not going to do anything. You need to get a running game going. And that's just hard to do this, Matt.
I can agree to that. I definitely can agree to that. Ran into that last season. Definitely agree to that.
It's a tough team. Well, let's take a look at the NFC, which in my opinion has really changed over the past 3 or 4 weeks here. It has even changed, in my opinion, since our last Press Pass Live, which was this past Sunday. You should go to our YouTube channel, like it, subscribe to it, see all of our stuff. There's a little easy plug for ourselves. The number 1 seed right now is going to be the Seattle Seahawks. Your number 2 seed is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. The number 3 seed is going to be the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The number 4 seed is going to be the Minnesota Vikings. Might be Atlanta. We have to see what happens at this last game with Atlanta. Atlanta's number 5, and then my Arizona Cardinals are number 6 after dropping a terrible game to the St. Louis Rams, who are missing their starting quarterback and their starting running back. I had 0 answers for the cover 2 zone defense. I couldn't do anything against it. He played superb, and Donald gives me headaches every time we play. That dude is in the backfield every run play, every pass play. All right, I'm getting off my soapbox. So that is the NFC playoff picture. Let's go to you, Ozone. Tell me what you think is going to happen in the NFC. Don't give me this freaking, the Bucks aren't going to. Don't give me that stuff. Be honest with me, all right? Let the viewers know what's up, what's going to happen in the NFC. Who's going to go and face those Buffalo Bills that you called to come out of the AFC?
Well, I think even the seedings, even in the NFC, I think those might be changing a little bit as well. I think the number 2 seed could possibly go to the South, whether it's Atlanta or myself. So I think that could drastically change the entire picture. I know we all have the same records, conference and division, but I think if it goes to strength of schedule, more than likely we'll have the advantage on that over Dallas, just because of the reason. I mean, if you just do the math real quick, you can see we have two teams that have double-digit wins in our division, plus two teams that are going in the playoffs. So just roughly, just throwing that out, I think if it goes by strength of schedule, the AFC South should have the number one seed. So that would drastically change everything. Looking at the teams here, the thing that really sticks out is Dallas. I think Dallas is a good team. Obviously, they got 12 wins. You don't get 12 wins without being good. But when you compare the other teams that are in it right now, Seattle, Atlanta, your Cards, the Bucks and Vikings, you look some of the things that really stuck out with Dallas to me is, yes, they have the best offense. You can't dispute that. They're the number 2 offense in the league right now, but they're really, really dropping down on the defense. You know, they're the 19th overall defense. Their turnovers they're 17th in turnover differential, which is -4. That is not good in this group of teams that are going in the NFC right now. You cannot throw interceptions. You can't have turnovers and expect to win. You might be able to get away with it throughout the season with some of the other teams, but if you lose the turnover war, you're going to lose the game. There's no but ifs about it. And -4 for the season for a team that's 12-4, or correct? Am I correct? 12-4.
Yeah, 12-4.
That is not good at all. So, you know, Big Hurt, I love Big Hurt. I know we're FIFA buddies, but he's got to clean up. He's got to make sure he doesn't turn the ball over, because that's going to be the end of this game, for the end of his game in the playoffs. And then the other thing he really, really needs to focus right now is his red zone red zone percentage. He's 25th in the league in the red zone, 75%. That is unacceptable in this stage of the game. So he's really got to shore those things up, because I tell you, Seattle, Arizona, Cards, and the Vikings, they are not. You slip on those teams, you're going to be in trouble. So that's the big thing that sticks out of me on the NFC. You look at your Cards, you know, you're looking good. You got a top 10 offense, defense. You're right there. Again, the thing that concerns me with your Cards is you're -11 turnover differential.
Yeah, way too many turnovers.
You got to clean that up. This stage of this late in the game right now in the playoffs, Nate, you're not going to win games by losing the turnover battle during these games. It's not going to happen. These owners and these teams are way too good. Atlanta's Atlanta. You know, I got a lot of love for Dwayne. He's up there. You know, 7th offense, 3rd defense in the league. Again, he's another team. He's got to clean up the turnovers. He's in the negative territory with the turnover differential, and he's 17th in the red zone. He's got to clean it up. But I have a lot of respect for Atlanta's game, and I know he's gonna be one of the 2 teams to contend. The other team I think that's gonna be up there is gonna be Seattle. I mean, they've been on fire. They know what they're doing. Number 4th offense in the league. They're struggling a little bit on defense. They're 24th on defense, but they're +17 on a turnover differential phase. So really good defense as far as turnovers, but they gotta minimize the points that they give up. So to me, my 2 teams, I think roster-wise, I'm going to throw the Vikings out there. I think the Vikings have the best roster in the NFC right now. They have a very, very talented roster. I think if he can get it together, he can go pretty far. But as an overall package, I think I'm going to give it to Dwayne, only because he's been in the playoffs before. He knows what he's doing. He's an offensive mastermind. Not that Mo isn't. But I'm gonna give the slight edge to Dwayne over Seattle on this one for the NFC. I'm sorry.
All right, Brady, give me your NFC breakdown. What do you see happening over here in the NFC?
Man, NFC. Congrats to you, Nate, on fixing that ship, because, buddy, last season was just disappointing. Last season was disappointing. So
it was
I'm glad
brutal.
you was able to write. I'm
The
glad
second
you're
half
able to
of the
write
season has not been much better. I've really dropped the ball. I got to clean up the turnover thing. Guys are playing a lot more zone, and I just got to get it figured out.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, man, at least you have a chance to continue your fight in the postseason. But me personally, man, speaking about the Seahawks, man, I was just looking at the squad real quick, looking at their rankings and whatnot, and this kind of scares me a little bit. They 23rd in yards per game on defense. They're 32nd on passing yards per game on defense. Run defense, you're not going to really run too much on them. They're second, but man, that 32nd, that ranking, man, they allow way too much down the field. 265 yards per game is what they're allowing. Offensively, they're a real good offensive team. Not so much on the passing game, real good on the run, but that's one team I guess you could say I kind of have my eye on, a little question mark. And my second team, I mean, it's my squad from, Madden 16, Tampa Bay, man. The Buccaneers, man, they're number one in points allowed, number one in yards, number one in passing yards, and they're number 7 in rush yard defense. I mean, defensively, that is just amazing. I would love to have that defense again, because that team was just, they lay the wood, they get big hits, they really bring the heat. And I have to say, I'm gonna shock the world with my choice, but I honestly have to say my dark horse to win the NFC is going to be the Bucs. Second in line would have to be the Seahawks, but I have like some real question marks with their defensive side of the ball. When you would think you say Seahawks, that's what you think of instantly. It's like boom, defense, but something ain't shaking, and that's no hate towards Seattle for our game, but it's just looking at the stats on paper, they're definitely going to have to bring the A game. And then I also want to second note off of what you guys were saying about turnovers. I mean, it's the postseason. Any mistakes right now, you sitting at the house. You sitting at the house watching streams, eating popcorn, and wishing you had your team in the playoffs. And that's you really can't have mistakes. So all the teams that end up making the postseason, and if I was looking at the schedule correctly, it looks like we have one more game that's going to decide some type of seeding, and that's the Falcons and the Giants. But past that, yeah, I have a feeling it's going to be Tampa Bay versus Buffalo is what I'm calling the Super Bowl, unfortunately with Ducks.
You gotta say that. You gotta save that. You gotta save that for a few more minutes here.
I'm sorry. I jumped the gun. But as far as the Super Bowl is concerned, that's what I'm looking at.
The NFC has taken a complete turnaround in my eyes in the last 4 to 6 weeks. This really was all about the Dallas Cowboys, and everybody else was playing for second place. A lot of teams were losing early. He was winning early, but something has happened to that team here in the last 3 or 4 weeks. And like you said, love Big Rob. He's on our FIFA team, play a lot with him. Quiet guy, you never hear from him very much, but it's something. There's one thing to look at the paper, look on daddy leagues, look at these stats. There's another thing to see what's happening in reality. Something in reality is not clicking with the Dallas Cowboys. I can't quite put my finger on what it is just yet. Atlanta Falcons and Minnesota Vikings, you two have played my emotions way too long. I ain't letting you do it this year. I was all about the Atlanta Falcons last season. They had the number one offense. They were rolling through teams. And then he just quietly packed his bags and went home during the playoffs. And same thing with the Minnesota Vikings, another team that can absolutely demolish you. I played him last season, and he freaking hammered me. And again, quietly took his little paycheck and went on home during the playoffs. Never really heard from him. So this is I'm just not buying the hype with the Vikings and the Falcons, even though they have played better here in the second half. Something's up with the Dallas Cowboys, and that has made me take my trust away from them. And so really, to me, the NFC comes down to the Tampa Bay Bucks and the Seattle Seahawks. And I look at these numbers that you guys have already talked about. Seattle Seahawks, one of the bottom defenses in pass and in yards, below middle of the pack in points. I think they're 16th in points. Tampa Bay Bucks, ones across the board other than rush defense, and I think they're only 7th. Rushing is just hard in this game, and Tampa Bay does it really well. It reminds me, Brady, of your old Bucks, man, when you and I used to go at it over there in the NFC South. You played that type of defense over there. And so we really begin to talk about two teams on opposite ends of the spectrum. One team all about the offense. Man, Seattle can score. They can score quick, and they can score on anybody. And then the Tampa Bay Bucks, who absolutely shut everyone down. Then I think about reality, and the reality is, as much as it pains me to say this about the Seattle Seahawks, because he and I have had some epic battles. I hate playing that dude. It's just like he hits it, man, he hits it fast, and one little mistake and he is right back in it. And the reality is he has played the Jacksonville Jaguars. He has played the New York Giants. He has played the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He's played, I can't think of the other team that he's played here recently, but there have been opportunities for teams who were supposed to make big runs in the playoffs who just haven't beat him. He has just come out of every one of those games on top with a victory, even with the 32nd ranked pass defense, even with a low points per game and 23rd total yards per game defense. He has playmakers at every position. He has a ton of speed on offense. This dude has a 1,200-yard rusher, and his backup rushed for another 700 yards. He almost has 2,000 yards between both of his backs. He's one of the few teams that can say that he did that. I'm pulling for Tampa Bay. My mind says pick Tampa Bay. Defense is going to win in the playoffs when the fingers get tight and the heart beats really fast and the vision gets blurry and you're not quite sure what you're going to be doing, and it's in the fourth quarter of a 3-point game. I just can't pick against the Seattle Seahawks. They just are red hot right now. They really have taken off since I took the lead in the division. He has won every single obstacle that has come in front of him. He has overcame it. I'm pulling for Tampa Bay, all right, because I'm a big Ozone fan. I'm a Tampa Bay Bucks fan. Again, that's Brady in me. Like, he and I just had such epic battles. We are one of the few rivalries that are still in this league, and I'm pulling for Tampa Bay. But the Seattle Seahawks are going to be my pick to go all the way in the NFC. So before we talk about our Super Bowl picks, winners, how that game's going to break out, really quick, how do you see this NFC coming? Let me say it this way. So last year, the AFC was the really big powerhouse league. They were the conference that was killing everybody. Who is it that now the NFC seems to be that? What has made the NFC so much stronger than the AFC from top to bottom? We'll start with you, Brady.
The biggest thing that I honestly would say is more games versus AFC contenders. Here's the thing about the AFC. Last season, a lot of the AFC games over in the NFC conference were some of the teams that weren't playoff teams. Just, there was a couple, that were like, possible playoff matchups. This could probably be a Super Bowl showdown, but at the end of the day, a lot of the non-conference games that went down or the inter-conference play, it was just a lot of the teams that the AFC top 6 or 7 it was. I think it was like the top 7 teams were like all AFC, and then you had some that were all NFC, and it totally changed this year. So it's all about the conference play, AFC versus NFC. And NFC stepped up. They finally got their chance to face off against playoff contenders, and they earned it. I was one of the many teams that fell victim to a high caliber NFC playoff contender team. Had a chance, faltered. It is what it is. It just happens that way. And I don't know. Of course, Ducks was able to, stay the course with his season. And just looking at his schedule for the year, I'm trying to pull it up here real quick just to kind of give you an idea. He actually had to go against, Carolina. They're 9-6. He also had to face off against the Falcons. That was another one of those games. And, I mean, he handled it, 33-15. The game against the Panthers, 33-9. So he is the exception to the rule. He faced off against, playoff caliber teams, and he just basically owned it. Whereas everybody else underneath him, we wasn't that strong. You know what I mean? And the one game that even remotely was close was his game against the Bucks, and he only won by 10. So 24-14. So it just goes to show that if you don't play playoff caliber teams, heck, man, you could have another year where boom, like it is for the NFC this year. You have a lot of teams that are up there, high records, above 10 wins, and then you have a lot of teams in the AFC that are 10 wins or less. And you will see that when you have the AFC versus the NFC, and it's true playoff contenders going head to head.
I will say this, though, in you and I's long-standing rivalry, I did get you this year, okay? You might get me back next year, but I got you this year. I don't know what happened, but I'll take it. I'll take that all day, every day.
Oh, man, I tell you what, boy, I wanted to break my disc. I wanted to break my controller. But more importantly, though, I think Nate did it on purpose. I think Nate hid Decatur Thomas stats on purpose. Oh, no, buddy, you can't have him. Oh, but you
Brady,
can get Parrish Hill. Oh, my God.
I love you. I will say this. I wish we had those stats because Morrison would be on the Cardinals sideline right now ripping people up for 100-plus catches a year every year, right? So if those stats were there, I'd let you have Decatur because I wanted Morrison.
Oh, man. Oh, that would have been some fun stuff. But, yes, Ozone, he got me this year. But, buddy, you best believe. Oh, salt in the wounds. I don't know. Man.
That's good stuff.
I want that back. But that's my take on the whole. Yes, I want it badly.
All right, Ozone, so talk about why you think the NFC is just so much stronger than the AFC. I know you weren't here last year, but the AFC really was dominant. Buffalo Bills made it in as I think a 2-loss team as a wild card. That's how good the AFC was last year.
Yeah, I think it's all cyclical,
it was, Yeah, dude, it was. Yeah, we lit it up. But go ahead, Ozone. What you think, man?
Everybody on fire up there last year. I think it's all cyclical. I really think it's cyclical, and which is it's good. We don't want to see the same people over and over and over going to the playoffs. I think something's changed in the game, and I think it's going to be more prominent as we move forward. You saw that potential free agents that are going to be out this offseason. There's going to be a lot of roster turnover, whether it's because of contracts, whether it's because of retirements. And I think players are moving throughout the league, and the teams are getting better. To me, it's amazing. You got teams, you look at the Lions. They made it to the Super Bowl last year. They can't get out of their own way this year. You look at your Cards. You struggled last year. Now you're in there doing it in the playoffs. So I think it's good. I think it's healthy. We don't want to see the same, 12 teams making the playoffs every year. That gets boring, and it creates competition. I think overall what we got to do, no matter who's stronger one year or the other, I think, and it's going to eliminate a lot of the AFC problems that we're running into. We got a 3-way tie potentially. We're some of the better guys that know what we're doing with this game in this league. We got to go and we got to hit the Broncos we got to hit the Browns, Massimo, Washington, Chaotic. We got to get those guys under our wings because we want to build out competition. Granted, some of those teams don't have good rosters, but we know those guys can do better than 2 wins. So if we take those guys and we kind of up their games, we whatever we know, we kind of teach them, we kind of go over some stuff, give them some advice here and there. And I think that's the responsibility of everybody in the league. Let's get the guys that are struggling a little bit, let's get them up to par, because those guys getting 2-3 more wins, that changes the standings drastically for everybody. I'm looking at the NFC power rankings and the AFC, and you got so many double-digit win teams, and then you got double-digit win teams that are not even making the playoffs. So we got to clean up the bottom. We got to kind of bring the bottom up a little bit, and I think the competition is going to improve overall for everybody, and the league should even out quite a bit as well.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept.
And then another thing I was going to touch base on was divisions. Also, you got to think you just about in every conference there is one division that, I don't know, just almost like it seems like it's a little bit behind. AFC is the North. The North seems like it's just a little bit behind on just across the board. I mean, don't get it twisted. 8-8 is not a bad record. 8-8 is not a bad record. 9-7 is not a bad record. But at the end of the day, when you look at the other divisions, you at least have 2 teams that are, top dogs. Then you have, the South, 2 teams, that are, up there. Then of course you have the West. The West is just ridiculous. I mean, you have 4 teams that are technically 2 wins away from changing the whole playoff picture. Because if you take Oakland and San Diego and give them 2 wins and take away 2 losses, you have something on your hands in the West. And then of course, like over in the NFC, it's not as transparent, but the East and the North. You have one team that's in double digits, and then you have the other ones that are kind of like behind. But it's not too bad except for Washington. And I would love to take Washington under my wing, because that just shouldn't happen. 0-16.
Yeah,
I think he's got a plan. I really do. This is one team I'm going to be watching closely in the offseason, because I truly believe he's got a plan.
Yeah, this is definitely going to be a subject for our next Press Pass Live that we'll do. Of course, Sunday's Christmas, so we'll probably do it early next week or whatever. But I do think that your Houston Texans, your Chargers, your Washington, Detroit, New Orleans, even San Francisco, who I think is Brady's best friend, they do a lot of games. Like, all these teams will play better. And like you said, I think that's an interesting way to look at it. That'll just make our league even better, because they'll bring that top down a little bit and that bottom will come up a little bit more. And I think that we'll get there. Some of these guys, just time-wise, can only do so much, but I think we will get there. So let's talk about one last thing before we get into picking our bowl winners and how we think that game's going to go. I know we could probably sit here all night and talk this, but it is getting to be late for some of us. And my wife is looking at me cross-eyed, so I don't want to get divorced. Pittsburgh Steelers. We ended up having to let their owner go. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, I trust the guys on my board. Brady, Chaotic, Colin, Ducks. These are good guys. Not perfect, but good guys who try to do things with character and integrity, and guys that I really, really trust. I think we will be adding to the board here soon. There are guys like Ozone and other guys that I've talked to about coming and joining the board and helping us out a little bit. I think you can never have too many good guys to kind of surround yourself and have more voices as you kind of lead a league. But in the past, we've had to let owners go for different reasons. This owner that had the Steelers code, good guy. It's not personal. It's never personal. I try. That's why I have a board. If it was personal, I would just do everything myself and make all those decisions. But I have a board, so even when I have an issue with an owner that is a personal thing, that I let them kind of decide what to do. So with all that said, this was not personal. This was just straight business, as they say. And I respect you guys way, way too much. This is an organization that was created to be an escape. We all have high-pressured lives, families. Some of us are going to be movie stars like our buddy Brady here. Like, we all have a lot on our plates. This is an escape. This is a place where we can have that brotherhood. We can have that guys that you're connected with and like a real community and family feel, and be an escape, enjoying a game that at least 99% of the time we enjoy. Sometimes we hate it, but most of the time we do enjoy it. And because of that, guys are busy. They have to plan things. They have to schedule things. All right, like doing this podcast tonight, I had to tell the wife it was going to be short, and she's already looking at me cross-eyed. But look, we all have certain things that we have to line up. And he stood up, I know for a fact, at least 3 or 4 guys where he no-showed the time that was scheduled, ended up showing even 10 or 15 or 20 minutes late. Like, that's a long time when you have a tight schedule or you're staying up late or whatever it is for your own situation. So to have that happen multiple times. Then he was in a game with Colin this past week. Colin's one of the nicest guys that I know. Colin was blowing him out. He ended up doing some long code ended up having a long pause to like walk his dog or something, and then taking like the play clock down to 1 second every single play, even on defense, and just like stretching out the fourth quarter to be like a 30 or 40 minute thing when it shouldn't be that long. That was kind of the straw that broke the camel's back. And when Colin says it's time for you to go, then it's time for us to think about it. And there had been talks amongst the board, and I kept telling Colin it was going to be his decision. Colin kept saying, no, let's give him a chance, let's give him a chance. Just was not working. So I said all that to say this. His team was in the playoffs. I think he took the team over from Maniac, who really built the team up. So what do we do here? In the past, we normally do not let the new owner play. It just isn't fair. They didn't earn it. We don't know their style. To me, it just isn't fair to let the new owner play in the playoffs as his first game. But what say you in this issue? Do we let the new guy play, or do we go ahead and let that be a CPU game and roll on with it?
Me personally, and I'll jump right in, being the FPR guy, me personally, I honestly say if a playoff, since it's a new guy, the person if whoever ends up playing the Steelers, they have to play that game. And I'm not talking like, play the key moments. No, they have to play that game. And because that also brings me into if someone is away on business, or if someone's away with family and they don't have their system with them, because I think I've seen that in the chat, whoever's playing that team needs to play the game, and it needs to be streamed, and it needs to be broadcast as if it was being played, human versus human. But on the matter at hand, when it comes to the Steelers, if that is a rule, and it's been in the past, it stays that rule. The new person shouldn't get to play the game. It should be the person, whoever plays the Steelers, have to play the whole game out, even if it is computer cheese. They have to play that out. Yeah.
So you think that new owner should play with Pittsburgh in the playoffs, correct?
No, I'm saying I think they still should sit.
This is still.
That's just me. If it's been done that way in the past, I think we shouldn't change anything. Even though it's one of those, even though it's like one of those on the line type of things, I honestly I'd rather keep it a set way, and then the board can set up and come up with something for the next season. To where if a situation like this happens again, we already have something in place in the rules that kind of, that we kind of work together to say, hey, you know what? We might give a little bit of leeway if it's this type of situation. You know what I mean? Because, and this is like right there on that fence. Me personally, I honestly say, no, that's just me.
What do you guys think about the concept of allowing the owner who plays the Steelers to decide if they want to let the new guy play or if they want to go ahead and play the CPU all the way out?
I mean, if the owner of the other team says, hey, I'd rather play a user, then if they say they want to play the user, then that's fine. That's golden to me. Because that lets me know that they want to earn their stripes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ozone, what do you think?
Well, I agree with Brady in the sense that if that's how it's been done in the past, I think we stick with what it's been done in the past. Personally, I don't see a problem. I think you have a pretty good vetting system and the new owners that come in. The concern I would have with that, the sole concern would be, because if you look at the big picture, yeah, he made the Pittsburgh made the playoffs at 9-7. So if he's a really, really good player, he would have made the playoffs anyway. And if he's not as good, then he's going to be eliminated in the first round. My big concern is, and again, you trust the vetting system and you trust the board members bringing these new owners in. So that's kind of shows you how much trust you got. But the concern that I would have is, okay, this is his first game and he's way left field as far as the rules go. And Brady's the one that's playing him. This is, Brady's worked all season long to make it to this playoff game. And now he's playing with somebody that's way off left field as far as the rules go. And that would be the big concern I would have if I was facing somebody that's first game right into the playoffs. That's where I would get a little heartburn, especially if he was way left field with the rules. I'm playing under a set of rules. He's kind of still learning the rules. That could be a problem. But again, like you said when you started the conversation, you have to have trust in the board members and in the people they bring in. You have to have trust in your system that you've set up through the quizzes and through forcing people to read the rules. And if you do play, maybe you put a little quarterback's earpiece, sideline earpiece in his ear, maybe through Discord or something, and in case you see something, hey, drop a note. Hey, you're doing this. Try to ease out of that. But I do agree with Brady in the sense that if this is how it's been done in the past, since the rules haven't been changed, unless the board does an emergency meeting and kind of talks it out, we should probably stick with what it's been going in the past. And I do agree with what Brady said and what you brought up. If the owner that's playing, which could be Brady, by the way, but the team that's playing Pittsburgh, if he wants to play a user, I think you let that user play that game, because it really, at the end of the day, it's really about those two guys, And then the next thing, and if he progresses to the next level, let's say Pittsburgh wins, then you offer the same offer to whoever's in the next stage.
And what better person for him to go against is the guy that's over FPR anyway. You know what I mean?
Right.
The biggest thing with me when it comes to the fair play rules is, and I'm gonna take an awesome quote from my man Ozone. And the quote goes, but at the same time, I want us to play chess and adopt, not use rules as excuses. That, to me, is like, it feeds into my mantra from day one. Play in accordance to the rules. Don't let the rules dictate how you play, but play in accordance to how the rules are written. Still play your game. You know what I mean? But with this whole matter, man, I honestly would say the board needs to get together for season 3. That way, if this matter happens down the road, we already have some kind of set in stone that's different. But yeah, like we said, if the opponent says, hey, I want to play human, then he should get in. But I honestly say, if he plays wild card game, he just finishes it out. If he wins, he finishes it out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Don't have it set up to where we're in the AFC championship game. And Bills was like, wait, I can choose if he plays or not? Oh, no, I'm playing the computer, buddy. Like,
well, especially if he plays that first game and he's legit, where it's, he's playing by the rules. He's playing by, everything we told him to do. And then now it's not fair for that guy. So you're right.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I was probably a little off kilter there.
No, I don't have good ideas handcuffed in my trunk, and so I definitely don't. I'm not the keeper and holder of good ideas. This is one of the situations that disconnects, in my opinion, and this kind of go hand in hand. They're just one of those damned if you do, damned if you don't, catch-22 all the way around. There is no great answer. Let's pick the best possible bad solution that we can. And that's what we've done with disconnects. It's not perfect. There is no perfect answer out there. You guys have said it perfectly. If he plays and he's legit, then you dodged the bullet, great. But he didn't earn it. He didn't earn his opportunity to be in the playoffs. And so you have a guy like Brady who did earn it for 17 weeks out of the season, 16 games. He did earn his spot there. Now he just lost to a legit player who took over the team 24 hours ago. Or if he plays and he's a bad player and he's breaking rules, yes, I trust our vetting system, but it's not perfect. Still things happen. It's not that guys are cheesy or bad. Sometimes it's just they miss the little points of the rules of where those rules are pointing to, and so they'll do things that we don't want to see here. And so now I've got a playoff team who earned it, and now they lost to somebody who was breaking the rule. It's just all the way around. And then if you let them CPU game, it's tough, and yes, it's cheesy, but it's still pretty much a freebie win. And so whoever plays it, there's no perfect answer here. I am open to suggestions and solutions. It's definitely something that we're going to have to decide here within the next 12 hours or so. But hopefully he is a great owner. Hopefully he'll be here for umpteen years and he plays perfectly. But you just never know. And I've been here long enough and run through enough people to know that you just never know.
And the one thing you do know, Nate, is you will never find a perfect owner.
No, those don't exist.
No.
Right. So that brings me to this last little portion. Let's talk about our OMFL Bowl participants. So we're going to go with Ozone. You called who did you call? You called the Seattle Seahawks or possibly the Atlanta Falcons to be against the Buffalo Bills. So make your pick. Tell me who's going to be in it, who's going to win, how's that going to break out?
I'm going to go Atlanta Falcons 21-17 over the Bills.
Wow. Why do you see that happening?
Wayne, he's got the offense. He's got a good offense. He can adapt. I've seen him what he's done with different personnel, and he changes his offense completely. And these two teams, I have a lot of respect for both of these guys because they're winning. They have good offenses, and they don't bend the rules. You don't see them out in compressed sets every other down. You don't see them out in closed sets every other down. You don't see them throwing 50 slant routes a game. They're doing it playing concept football. And look at them rise to the top just by playing conceptual football. Again, good teams. Again, Bills has the better roster. They build a really good team. But I'm with you, Nate. Eventually, he's going to trip. He's going to be his own worst enemy on this one. And even though he's going to make it to the Super Bowl, I think Wayne is going to have one up on him. Sir Brady, you didn't like that.
It's over to you, Brady.
Again, like I said, this is just me paying homage, to my boys in the NFC. Truly, they wanted me to come back in Madden 17, but, I couldn't leave good old Jacksonville stranded. That's my team. It's Jacksonville, but you know, my brothers from another mother, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, man, they will make it to the ship versus the Bills. But woo, it will be a close one. I'm saying ice kicker 17-14, Bills over the Bucks in what I would like to call the greatest bowl game in the OMFL history. I'm throwing that out there. I wasn't even around when it first originated, but I'm throwing it out there that this one will go down as the greatest Super Bowl game. 17-14, Shattered Dream Productions, Bucks go down 17-14.
I'm going to go ahead and say this up front. If these two teams go to a 17-14 game, the two top offenses in the league, then I will give you pick of the free agents out there. I'll let you pick any free agent, and he's going straight to you, because there ain't no way that the Buffalo Bills and the Atlanta Falcons, two of the most prolific offensive teams in this league, are going to put up 17 and 14. It would have to be Hurricane Katrina blowing through that place, and those teams would still not score 17 and 14 points. So I'm just going to throw that out right there. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks. I'm pulling for the Tampa Bay Bucks. That's where my heart is telling me to go with, but I just cannot ignore what the Seattle Seahawks have done in the past 4 weeks. And the fact is that they have knocked down every obstacle that has stood before them. I'm going to take the Seattle Seahawks to face the Buffalo Bills, even though I'm hoping somebody knocks them off, just because, man, back-to-back champions suck. But the guy is an awesome player. And you know what? I can't take it from him. I think he's going to win him his second straight OMFL Bowl and be one of the few repeating champions that this league has ever seen. I think we've only had 3 or 4 guys in the history of this league able to do that. We did have one guy win 3 in a row. But I think that the Buffalo Bills are just too strong from start to finish. The caveat will be if Huntley makes some bad passes. But he's playing the Seattle Seahawks, 32nd worst pass defense. You can't get any worse than that in the league. And Huntley, I think, is going to have a field day. Derrick Henry is playing exceptionally good football for them. And that defense is just unbelievable. He simply shuts down the middle of the field with his linebackers. He's a great user. He's very fast at the sticks. He has fast linebackers. That's his MO. That's what he's good at. And it works for him. And it works for him really, really well. And I just don't see the Seattle Seahawks being able to hit those big plays that he's going to need to hang with the Buffalo Bills. So give me the Buffalo Bills 36-28 over the Seattle Seahawks. I would not be surprised if this just becomes an absolute blowout. I just really think the Buffalo Bills are that good. This could get ugly in the AFC playoffs with maybe some snow, maybe a defensive battle like we've kind of all talked about tonight. That would not surprise me if something crazy like that happens. But I think that the Buffalo Bills are just too loaded from top to bottom. I think they're going to win their second straight championship. So there you have it. You've taken a look at the entire playoffs. Our little quote-unquote short show has now went for over an hour, if you can believe that. We just got to talking and it kind of ran away from us here. But it has been a great, great season. The offseason is right around the corner. It's always a ton of fun. The golf league actually started tonight. The Coach Mode League is really trying to turn themselves to be legit. Chaotic is putting a lot of effort and energy. Houday is putting out a ton of graphics and a ton of other really great content. Ozone put out some really cool stuff today about possible unrestricted free agents. Just tons and tons of good stuff. Brady's still playing with a little idea that may happen a little later. We announced today that though sadly Bill is going to have to leave us here after the advance from this week, we will induct I can't spit that word out. Try it again. We will induct him into the OMFL Hall of Fame immediately. And so that'll be a cool thing to kind of send him off with. It has been a great season, and I've got 2 of the best co-hosts that a man could ever possibly ask for on the show tonight. It has been an absolute pleasure. 30 seconds or less, give you each some closing thoughts as we wrap the show up. We're going to shoot it over to Brady.
Man, real quick, FPR, man. Just follow the rules, guys. Other than that, man.
Especially during the playoffs. It gets nasty during the playoffs. People get real salty and thirsty.
Yeah. Don't get thirsty. Don't drink from the water. Don't drink from the water. Just let it go. Slide on through. Play your games, and let's minimize the complaints in the postseason. Let's save those for season 3. That's it for me. Brady's out.
Ozone, closing thoughts.
Closing thoughts. Good luck to everybody in the playoffs. Good luck to the seedings. I know there's big holes in the AFC of who's in, who's out. I know there's a lot of questions in the NFC of who's what seed and what. But good luck to everybody. At the end of the day, just win. Just win.
The Toilet Bowl will be kicking off here very shortly. For those guys in the Toilet Bowl, Colin will be taking that over as his baby. Please get those games played. We don't need the Toilet Bowl to last longer than the playoffs. So if you're going to sign up for the Toilet Bowl, please play those games. Colin's going to have a really great incentive to introduce to everybody who plays in that. I think it'll be worthwhile your time of playing. You will play as your own team with default rosters also. Like Brady said, for the playoff teams, if there's a real complaint, then file a real complaint. If there's not, sleep on it, calm down, and let the juices get out of your system before you file a complaint. We don't need some salty people who just got beat filing complaints. It's wasting Brady's time of watching film, okay? So it's going to be a great time. I'm excited to see how the playoffs are going to go. I can't wait for the draft. The draft is my favorite thing that we do by far. We'll drop some videos as we prep for the draft, and then we'll come back on Monday or Tuesday, and we'll do a Press Pass Live with Ozone. And maybe if Brady's free, we'll get Brady on here since everybody's got a little bit of a break, and we'll do another Press Pass Live. So for Brady, for Ozone, for all the leadership here at the OMFL, thank you guys for all calling in and listening to us ramble about the playoffs. We will see you after the playoffs have started. We'll see you on Monday or Tuesday for Press Pass Live. Merry Christmas to all of you guys. Be safe if you're traveling. Eat a ton of food. Enjoy yourself with family and friends. We'll be around. We'll see you on the other side. Peace.
Peace, guys.
Peace. Later, boys.